And many of us that are Christians, that's the reality. Not only have we not heard the voice of God, which is speaking over us, but we're not satisfied with it. God's looking to make us a beautiful people and an unpredictable people in every way. People of worship, a prophetic generation, not to move in pleasing man by predicting their futures like witches can do, but to be a prophetic people, to know the feelings of God's heart. It's totally different. So I'm almost done, but I'm driving my son, Samuel, who's 5, and my nephew, Zane, who's 4. And my nephew, Zane, I'm listening to this guy, Andrea Bocelli. Have you ever heard of Andrea Bocelli? He's a beautiful singer. And I'm listening to him on my radio, and it's turned up. And we're driving on a beautiful day. It was about 45 degrees next to the lake on Lake Michigan. And I'm taking them to school one morning. And all of a sudden, I hear this yelling from the back of the car. And I listen in, and Zane's yelling, saying, "Uncle Jason, Uncle Jason, Uncle Jason, Uncle Jason, I can't hear the music." I said, well, okay, I'll turn up the music. So I turned up the music a little bit louder. Only a few seconds later, I hear him yelling again, "Uncle Jason, Uncle Jason, Uncle Jason, I can't hear the music." I turned around and I said, "Zane," I turned down the music. I said, "Zane, if I turn this music up any louder, your mother's going to be so frustrated with me because I'm going to blow your eardrums out," which he doesn't even know what an eardrum is. And he looked at me, and my son Samuel, who's probably going to be a lawyer or something because he's like always in the middle of all the arguments between children and their parents, defending them. And Samuel says, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, wait." He says, what Zane's saying is, he says, he wants you to roll down the windows. I was confused. I said, "You can't hear the music, so you want me..." And my son Samuel said, "He wants you to turn off the radio and roll down the windows." I said, "You can't hear the music, so you want me to turn off the radio and roll down the windows?" So I rolled down all the windows, and it's freezing. The wind is blowing. Every window is rolled down, and the wind begins to blow their hair. And they start laughing. And they start going crazy. Ah! Whoa! And I said, "Are you guys telling me that the wind is the music?" And they said, "Yeah, Uncle Jason, the wind is the real music." That came from a 4-year-old. Now listen. So I began to get tears in my eyes, and I drop them off at school. I immediately go back to my worship room and start meditating on that. I look up my nephew Zane's name, and Zane actually means friend of the wind and the sea. I thought, oh, Lord Jesus, that's when you know that you're hearing from the Lord, if you ever want to know. I said, oh, my goodness. And so I begin to think about that and ponder and reflect on that. Now, it's powerful because, so I began immediately to think about Jesus walking on water. And I began to think about the disciples being afraid. And I started thinking about fear, and I'm thinking about it here. Because I feel like fear is a major dividing factor in Lakeland and in this region. And I started thinking about it tonight, and I usually don't share this in the Satisfied message, but I'm putting these two together tonight because it's for this special place. God is wanting to make us a beautiful people. And the reality is that fear robs us of finding God, because God usually plants himself in the middle of our fear. So when they looked out at the wind and the waves, they were afraid. But Jesus was in the midst of the wind and the waves. Jesus is often in the midst of whatever you're afraid of. We're not finding Jesus because we're looking in the places that we're secure in and comfortable in. And Jesus is looking for us to go to the places that we're uncomfortable. You can go hang out with a bunch of predictable people that are predictable in your life, and you know what you have? A bunch of people that you have placed witchcraft over their life and control, and you control them to look like you, act like you, preach what you preach, say what you say, so that nothing ever shakes your life enough to actually see the Lord. And you know the reality of Deuteronomy chapter 6? It says that you have ceased to have blessing in your life because you no longer see the Lord. And you know why you no longer see the Lord? Because you're hanging around all kinds of people that think just like you think. You're reading books about people that talk just like you talk. And if they don't talk like you talk, and they shake it just a little bit, and they're just going to push you a little bit too far, I can't listen to that anymore. Because the Lord ain't in that. Or maybe the Lord's right in the middle of it, and the Lord isn't in what you're doing because you're a control freak. People ask me all the time, they say, well, what do you do when you have a writer's block? I say, I move. I change what I'm doing. I write somewhere else. You got to be willing to move and be unpredictable and shift. Trick your mind into finding reality. It's interesting, you know. Zayn is a Palestinian. His father is Muslim. Samuel is named after the greatest prophet in Israel. Both Palestinians and Israelis believe that Abraham was their father. No Israel right now, no Israel scholar, only evangelical Christians from America who want to prosper and take advantage of things believe this. No Israel scholar right now, or very few, I'm talking about Israeli scholars, believe that what is happening right now in Zion is the way it was supposed to happen. But we keep playing the game. Nobody believes that because all the prophet Isaiah said was not that we would come in with man force and military power to give Israel the land. It says that every nation of the world would come to Israel and be blessed and be satisfied and be taken care of. We have been satisfied even in our doctrine on Israel and man's power and authority. We've been satisfied with man-made weaponry and warfare. And we've called that the protection of Israel. We've been satisfied with protecting our own lives and called that protection of God. But Abraham did not do that. Abraham trusted the Father and was satisfied in the Father so much that he looked at Lot and he said, Lot, take the land that you want. Where do you see that in the Middle East right now? Where do you see that in the average Christian? Where do you see the Christian that will lay down his life for his enemy and lay down his life for the one that will persecute him and steal from him and destroy him? Where is that kind of Christianity? Don't give me this BS and don't treat our children like little whores and bring them up into this doctrine where you program them. When are we going to start treating our children like they matter and teaching them the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ? And if